Ready for some Nobel Prizes and some ethical dodginess? Now, as I mentioned before, in order to know about beta blockers, we need to know about what they block. So we need to know about adrenaline and catecholamines. So let's start in the 19th century with a few disconnected experiments which start to build the picture. Number 1, Henry Salter. He was working on asthma and noticed that if you made someone violently emotional, it had an immediate effect on curing an asthma attack. This was probably because adrenaline was being released. But how he made people violently emotional, I don't really know.
I swear to God. Swear to me!
Number 2, at the same time, a French dude called Alfred Vulpian was dissecting and playing around with human bodies. He did an experiment where he found that part of the adrenal gland, the adrenal medulla, reacted to ferric chloride and turned green. Now, other parts of your body and organs didn't do that, but if you test the blood near the adrenal gland, it also turns green. So he realized where adrenaline was released from. And then number 3, a German chap called Carl Jacob. Now he saw that your digestion and waves of contraction in your gut were stopped immediately when you stimulated the adrenal gland. Now think earlier when we said flight or fight for the sympathetic nervous system, well, the opposite of that is rest and digest, which applies to the parasympathetic nervous system. So you can see there's a bit of a balance going on there. With all these fragments pulled together, step in George Oliver from Yorkshire and Edward Schaefer, Professor of Physiology at University College London. Now, Oliver had found a way to measure the diameter of arteries, which get bigger and smaller. When your arteries relax, blood pressure goes down, and when your arteries constrict, blood pressure goes up. So he got some extract from the adrenal gland of a calf and injected it into his son. Yes, you heard that right. These were the good old days of research and experimentation when you could inject your kids. Now, he noticed that his son's radial artery constricted, and that experiment was repeated on dogs, and when he joined forces with Schaefer in front of some really powerful physicians in London. They thought it wasn't going to work, but they ate their hats. And from that, adrenaline was then purified from the adrenal gland and started to be used as a treatment for things like asthma and thyroid conditions. So we knew what adrenaline was, yes, but we didn't know what it binded to. Well, step in Raymond Alquist, who figured out 2 major areas where adrenaline seemed to have an effect. In the muscles, which he called alpha receptors, and in the heart, which he called beta receptors. Now, jumping ahead slightly, after World War II, there was more of an interest in heart conditions like heart attacks and angina. Angina being a condition where you get chest pain because your heart isn't getting enough oxygen and because its coronary arteries are beginning to block up. Angina often leads to a heart attack. Now, this was an important topic for a Scottish scientist called James Black, whose dad had died suddenly from a heart attack pretty recently. He knew that things like exercise and high emotional states caused chest pain, and he knew that was probably because of adrenaline. So he wanted to try and block the action on the heart. He didn't want to block all the adrenaline. He wasn't interested in the alphas. He was only interested in the betas. He just wanted to block the heart receptors. Now, working at Imperial Chemical Industries, he set to work studying one of the beta receptor agonists or activators, that's the opposite of a blocker, called isoprenolol, and realized that there was a derivative of it called dichloroisoprenolol, which seemed to have the opposite effect. Now, sprinkle on some medical chemistry onto that and you get practolol and pronethanol, the first 2 beta blockers. These have since been banned because they're pretty dangerous, but a derivative of them is called propanolol. And propanolol is considered the first proper beta blocker. It's considered the benchmark to which all other beta blockers are compared. Time goes on and more beta blockers have been invented. Some of them are more potent than propanolol, some of them are less so. Some work in a generalized adrenoreceptor blocker way, others are highly targeted to a particular organ. Needless to say, pretty much everyone here got a Nobel Prize, apart from Raymond Alquist, who died before he was nominated, and you do have to be alive to be nominated for a Nobel Prize. Ironically, he died of a heart problem.